Hello, this is a quick tutorial to address naming conventions in Blackboard. So this always sounds kind of tedious when I'm talking about it, but it really, and it doesn't always create a problem, but when it does, it's a really difficult problem to remedy. So, best case scenario is just don't get yourself into the situation of having to deal with this. So what I'm talking about is naming anything that you create in Blackboard, whether it's a navigation link, a folder, an item, announcement, etc. We don't want to include any symbols at all. And by symbols, I mean these kinds of symbols. Those are just like numbers and letters that are just code in the background. As far as a browser is concerned, it has to interpret it some way. And for some reason, these, any symbol other than the hyphen or underscore, for some reason those don't seem to cause problems, but any of the rest of the symbols can cause problems, I should say. Like I said, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's pretty bad. So just to keep ourselves from having to deal with it, we request that you don't use any of those symbols when you're naming anything. So for example, if in your navigation buttons you wanted to call attention to an extra credit kind of opportunities for students, and you put the asterisk, for example, or an exclamation point, or anything like that, that's what I'm talking about. So you could rename this link and just get rid of those asterisks, right? That would be perfectly fine, of course. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Likewise, in an announcement, it seems harmless to add an exclamation point to a welcome letter. It seems kind of natural. But again, that's the kind of thing you want to avoid. So we would just get rid of that one and keep this kind of an announcement. Still says welcome. And of course, in the text box of anything you're creating, you can use whatever symbols you want. It's just in the name itself. So for example, when you're editing an announcement, it's called actually a subject in an announcement, but I believe in an item it's called a name. In buttons it may be called a title. They may call it different things, but it's the thing at the top with this orange asterisk next to it. That's what you don't want to use any symbols in that field. All right, so this may seem unnecessary, but just to show a couple other examples, a lot of people, when they're creating their organizing structure in the course by chapter or unit or lesson, etc., they may use a pound sign for when they're denoting which number it is, and that's the problem again. So you would just take the pound sign out and keep the just chapter 1 simple like that. Within your folder, one more example is, even though this name is fine, the file that is attached to this item, if you're attaching any file, same rule applies, no symbol. So this has parentheses. That I've seen that cause problems, pretty bad problems in the past. So you can just use the same document, but just take the symbols out of the name. All right, so in this case I would mark this file for removal, and then browse my computer and just rename the item without those parentheses and use that document. Okay, submit. So now I have it's the same content in the file. I've just removed the parentheses from the file name. Also, for file names, any files attached in Blackboard, you don't want to have the name of the file any longer than 64 characters. And most people don't use anywhere near that number, but I've seen some that use considerably more, and that has caused a problem. So file names should not be any longer than 64 characters, and they should not include any symbols. Anything named in Blackboard should not include any symbols. So if you can adhere to that, you'll save yourself from some unwanted headaches. All right, thank you very much. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact the TLC. Thank you.